what those maintenance kits do, depending on which one you pick. But thank you. All right, let's go ahead and move on to our science and tech, and we're going to let Dr. Don take it away. Dr. Don.
Thank you, Susan. You know, I'm an MD and I've done natural alternatives for almost 40 years. So I've seen a lot of things. I basically help people detoxify their body, balance their blood and immune system, and everything up to and short of pharmaceuticals, which I call poisons with a desirable side effect. And I'm not making a wholesale condemnation on them. They can be life-changing and life-saving, but in many cases, it's poisoning yourself to health is not the best approach in the long run. Sometimes, unfortunately, it's necessary. If you break your leg or have a heart attack, please don't come to us for natural alternatives. Get to the emergency room. But using a pharmaceutical for everything that happens just is not the best way in the long run, or in many cases, the short run. I think mainly because it ignores the cause of the problem often, and sometimes makes the cause of the problem even worse when you try to do it with pharmaceuticals. Unfortunately, in the past, we didn't have as many different approaches, and now we've got an absolutely unique and novel approach called patching. And I'm going to ask Susan to share a little bit about the starting of the company, but before I do that, I'm going to ask you a question. In the New England Journal of Medicine, they state, which is the place where doctors go for rock solid peer reviewed studies and things. And the New England Journal of Medicine says the #1 predictor of wellness. What do you think that is? #1 predictor of wellness. It is the number of stem cells in your bloodstream. How about that? That's worth the price of admission. If you only remember that from coming on here today,
That's huge.
#1 predictor of wellness. This is from the so-called other side, the less natural side, the pharmaceutical side of things. They say the #1 predictor of wellness is the number of stem cells in your bloodstream. Wow, because there's only a few ways you can increase that, and the traditional ways are limited and very expensive. So we're going to talk about this wearable light therapy that's going to be, I think, one of the most important things you can do for your ongoing health. But first, Susan, tell us a little bit about how the company got started initially with David Schmidt in the U.S. Department of Defense.
Right. Well, that was around the year 2000, if I'm not mistaken. And they had known about David Schmidt. He had worked on some other projects, and they were looking to help the Navy SEALs, that they would be able to have some energy and to get through these long submarine trips. So they asked David if he could come up with something, invent something for them to get through these trips, something, because they were doing caffeine, amphetamine, all the things we do when we need energy and stamina. And David came out with the energy enhancer patches. And if I'm not mistaken, that's when the technology was first launched in the year 2000.
He invented it.
He invented it. Absolutely.
Yes, and patented the technology.
20-year global patent.
Then
That's the cool
time moved on. Of course, 911 happened, so the funding went away, and David had the patent and the technology, wanted to share it with people. So he started Lifewave in 2004, went on developing patches. A few years later, the most successful patch at the time was called Eon, an anti-inflammatory patch that we'll talk a little bit more about. A wonderful patch. But really, the company went to a whole nother level, and it was really game-changing when he finally released the X39, which is the stem cell activating patch. And that grew by 20 times, I think, in just a few years. So that was very exciting. What I want you to remember from my part of this, a couple things, remember. #1, I want you to remember and know what a stem cell is. You may say, well, I know what that is. Well, good. Go over the basics and keep with the basics. That's really all you need to know to be successful in this business. Is sometimes less is more. In other words, you try to tell people too much. Just start with the stem cell. What is it? It's just a cell in your body that can become any other kind of cell you need. If you need help in the cardiovascular area, it can become a heart cell or a blood vessel lining cell. If you need help in your lungs, it can become part of the lung tissue, liver, whatever organ system, or skin, or whatever it is. A stem cell can become that. Now, that's very important to know, that you've had stem cells all of your life. When you were first conceived, you were 100% stem cells. Then some of them we call differentiated, turn into different things. Some become bones and skin and muscle and other things, but your body always retains a number of stem cells for later development when you need regeneration and renewal. Now, the other fact, so number one, what a stem cell is, it can become anything you need. So this could work and be potentially beneficial for anyone's health condition in any situation. That's what a stem cell is. Number two, by the time you're 35, you lose 50% of your stem cell activity.
Wow. Who knew?
By the time you're 65, you lose 90% of your stem cell activity. Remember what the New England Journal of Medicine said the number one predictor of wellness was? It's the number of stem cells in your bloodstream. Wow. But we don't have as many as we used to. That's the fact that we heard when we first heard friends of ours were using patches and getting tremendous results. And Susan got excited about that. And she said she wanted these patches.
I said, sign me up.
Yeah.
If we can get stem cells up and moving again, I want in.
And I was not on board. I
No.
was highly skeptical. I didn't think there was any science to it. And I said, Susan, I'm a physician. I can't tell people put a sticker on your neck and it'll heal you from whatever problem you have. It just sounded crazy to me. So if you've had that response from people, don't give up on them.
That's right.
That was one of those. I actually went and studied it to prove to her that there was no science, that it was just a gimmick.
Yep.
Well, of course, when I looked into it, what I found there were a lot of science, a lot of studies, and the studies were independent. They were double blind, placebo controlled, many of them peer reviewed, which is the highest level of scrutiny. That's what I was used to in science when it's valid science. And it's very rare to have studies when you're talking about natural alternatives because the funding's not usually there for it. If there are studies, a company may themselves do 10 studies and one of them is favorable, you hear about that, the other 9 are disregarded. That is not good science. That's not what happened here. That's not what's called independent. Independent is when someone else does this study.
Okay.
And double blind, placebo controlled means the people that are doing the study don't know whether they're giving the real thing or the control group. And the people receiving it don't know either. But peer reviewed means you do the study, then you give it to your colleagues and say, what's wrong with my study? Show me why this is not valid. And many of these, over 80 clinical studies. So we had rock solid science. Then I also saw a patent, a 20-year global patent for the X39. Now that is not just given away. There's got to be some real strong evidence that you've got something unique and new, and exclusivity on that. We are about 3 years into that now, so I think we've got 17 years to go. So once I saw that there was real science, my concern as a physician, number one, was, is it safe? And the answer to that is because the patch is non-transdermal. Maybe some of you may not have seen the patch. It's about the size of a quarter, just around, like a round Band-Aid. You peel the back off, put it on 12 hours. After 12 hours, it's used. You take it off, throw it away. 12 hours off for rest and restoration so your body doesn't acclimate or get used to it. Then you put the next patch on. So you get 100% benefit every time you use the patch. But I said non-transdermal. What does that mean? I was familiar with a transdermal patch, which I'm sure you are too, an estrogen patch perhaps, or a nicotine patch like a smoker's patch, where the chemicals are in the patch. You put it on your body, it goes through the skin and does what it does. This is non-transdermal. Absolutely no chemicals are transferring from the patch into your body. Well, that sounds wonderful, but then how does it work? I'm glad you asked. It works by using your body as a battery. Your body's only the energy source here. In the patch media itself is a combination of organic amino acids, electrolytes that are put together in what we call a stereoisomer configuration, crystalline configuration, so that when your infrared heat energy from your body hits it, it forms a very specific wavelength of light, which is reflected back into your body. And that's what signals a molecule to do whatever it's supposed to do. In the case of the X39 stem cell activating patch, it is signaling GHK copper peptide, a well-known signaling molecule that does a number of healthy things in your body, one of which is calls on stem cells to wake up, come to the area. It's a cytokine kind of a function. If you're in that industry, you know what I'm talking about. It's your body calling out and saying, send some help. That's what GHK copper peptide is, and that's the signaling molecule in the case of the X39 patch. So your body is simply the energy source, and the patch is simply a reflector of light that's formed, and it's light therapy. It's wearable light therapy. And you say, wow, that's unusual and cutting edge. Well, in some ways, using it this specifically certainly is enough to get a patent. However, every one of us have been using this technology in our bodies every day of our lives, because that's what happens when sunlight hits your skin. It helps your skin, the cholesterol in your skin specifically, to be made into vitamin D. That's photobiomodulation. Photo light, bio the body, modulation changing the body with light. It's happening in us all day, every day. And all of us have stem cells. Remember what they are? A cell that can become anything else, that you lose half of by the time you're 35 and 90% of by the time you're 65. And New England Journal of Medicine, in traditional medicine, says the #1 predictor of wellness is the number of stem cells in your bloodstream. Wow, that is powerful information.
It sure is.
And now we have a way to do that without side effects. So is it safe? I don't even have to ask if people are on pharmaceuticals, over-the-counter medications, vitamins, minerals, nutrients, doing other modalities, because this is such a unique way, the light therapy, it's as safe as sunlight hitting your skin. It's not going to interfere with other things that you're doing.
Yeah.
It could help some of those other modalities work better, because your body works better when you get a moderate amount of sunlight. This is just very specifically doing different things with different wavelengths of light. It is definitely the reverse aging science of the future. That's a big statement. I'll say it again. It is the reverse aging science of the future. And I think in terms of prevention of sickness and disease, just goes to the very top of the list. Of course, all the other things that we need to do to take care of our body. I've written 4 books on the subject. You can see a couple of them behind me. 10 keys, which are learn to relax, get to bed on time, and do your exercise, breathe fresh air when the sun's out there, and eat like this little rhyme: fruits and vegetables, whole grains, white if you choose meat, drink what you're mostly made of, water makes your health complete. Those are 10 keys that cure. They're foundational. They're not the only important things for health, but once you start patching, you still have to eat. Yeah, you should eat God-made live foods, fruits, vegetables, whole grains. When you exercise, you move immune fluids, and patches work better. When you stay hydrated, drink half of your weight in ounces of water every day, the fluids will move better around your body, and including GHK copper peptide that's signaling, and things work more efficiently. Managing stress properly, getting enough rest, all of these things will help the patches to work. Interestingly enough, when you first start patching, I'm often asked this: what do I expect when I start patching? What's going to happen? And I think this is the most important thing maybe you can educate people when they're starting to patch, is that the average person, it'll take 3 to 6 weeks to notice something that it's making a change. So don't be surprised if you're, 3, 4, 5 weeks and you don't think anything's happening.
Right.
I assure you that things are happening, immeasurable things that we can measure, one of which we can measure, and there's a clinical study on this. Within 24 hours of putting the X39 patch on, you are talking to 4,100 of your 18,000 genes to express at a healthier, more youthful level. And genes talk to other genes, so pretty soon you're through the whole genome on a genetic level even. That's happening.
Big.
But you might not be noticing anything necessarily. It could take 3 to 6 weeks. And the patches are designed to be used 1 month for every decade of life. So I'm 67, so I've lived 6 decades. I'm in my 7th, so I need to wear these patches 7 months before I can even say for sure whether or not it's doing something in my body. But these are measurable things that we can measure. Now, we love it when someone's a one-patch wonder.
Yes.
First week, first few days of patching, and it's life-changing. We love that. But that's the exception, not the rule. So I would rather tell people realistically 3 to 6 weeks. Now, sometimes it takes up to a month for every decade of life. And when that happens, what I think is happening is because it is smart technology. It goes to work on the most important issues your body's facing, and you've got 100 trillion cells. And at any given time, dozens of things going wrong, some of them horribly wrong, but your body is fearfully and wonderfully made. You're set up to handle them. You won't even find out about them, and it's a good thing. So if there's a lot going on in your body, it may take longer because it goes to the first thing, then the next thing, then the next thing. But fill out that health tracker, because you'd be surprised how you don't miss pain. You don't miss.
True.
I wore the patches my first 5 weeks, and I said to Susan, I don't think they're doing anything for me. And she said, well, you're not getting up 2 to 3 times a night and waking me up to go to the restroom. Wow, that's true. And that's been over a year ago, and I do not have that issue. And at my age, most men are getting up a number of times in the night. Then I felt tremendous energy. I had some shoulder issues that went away.
Remember your hip pain too?
And then what about your plantar fasciitis?
Yeah,
wearing a brace for 10 years.
We tried everything to get that to go away.
And we'd have some success, but nothing took care of it.
Right. And that took about 4.5, almost 5 months, but I've been completely free of it now for at least probably a year.
Yeah. And so what can people expect? Probably the most common thing I hear is a general sense of well-being. Sleeping better is very common. Improved focusing, brain function, wound healing, recovery after exercise, having more energy and stamina to do more. Just a general feeling of youthfulness is very common too. And sometimes GI changes, because the GI tract turns over a lot. Skin changes, you get new skin every 28 to 45 days. These are some of the common things. But on a given individual, we can't really say how quickly something's going to happen, but we know what's happening. We can measure your biological age now, scientifically. Your chronological age is how many candles you have on a birthday cake, but your biological age is usually not exactly the same as that. And we can measure that with things like telomere length and CRP, C-reactive protein, a level of inflammation in your body, different fibrinogen, a level of cardiovascular health, and then patch and then remeasure and see. And we had a small study that was done that was showing, it's not been released because we're doing a bigger one now that hopefully we'll be able to release that. But for this small study of 16 people, they wore the X39 patch for 6 months, measured their biological age at the beginning, and then 6 months later, they lost an average of 8 years of biological age in your first 6 months. How would you like to turn back the hands of time 8 years? And that brings me to the third thing. It's safe, it's effective, and then finally, is it affordable? And the answer to that is, well, compared to any other way you could get stem cell therapy, which you used to be able to get in the United States, you can still get it now, but you've got to go abroad, and it's going to cost thousands, 10, 20, even $30,000 we've had people pay.
Even 60.
Yeah.
Somebody told us they spent $60,000.
It's limited in things where you can actually concentrate your own worn out stem cells and then inject them at a locality, like maybe a hip or a knee or whatever. This patch is only $3 a day. Wow. To get those kinds of changes, that's a bargain. Your Earth suit, that's your right to stay on this planet, your physical body. You only get to stay here as long as this one lasts. When it wears out, you're out of here. You'll still exist, but you're not going to exist in this body. So I want to do everything I can do to live long and strong. And as the New England Journal of Medicine told us, number one predictor of wellness is the number of stem cells in your bloodstream. And wow, now there's a way for $3 a day I can do that. Now, when I start people, I always start them with 2 patches. The X39, of course, foundational. And then I call it the dynamic duo. The other one is the Eon patch, which is the anti-inflammatory patch I mentioned a little while ago. And keeping inflammation in check is important because inflammation can be a cause or promoter of any kind of disease, including the big killers, the cancer, heart disease, diabetes, arthritis. You want to keep inflammation in balance. That's why doctors measure your CRP, C-reactive protein, for your level of inflammation. As you get older, generally, you have more inflammation. So keeping that in balance is extremely important anyway for your health,
Mhm.
but it's more important when you're waking up stem cells, because when you wake up these stem cells, they're going to go where the action is in your body because it's smart technology, prioritizing. Well, where the action is where the inflammation is.
Mhm.
So some, or initially perhaps most or all of those stem cells that are reawakened are going to be used up fighting inflammation. If you can keep inflammation in balance, which you can with the Eon patch, you're going to get quicker and better results. Those stem cells can go work on other things. So I like to start people with
Yes.
those two. And of course, the
Mhm.
entry level, the least expensive that I like to recommend is the silver pack, because instead of paying 150 retail for just 2 months of X39, you
Mhm.
for $299 you can get a silver pack. You get those same 2 months of X39, and two, if you want to look at it that way, free patches, which you can choose for Eon for $1 less. And then you buy the patches wholesale, which is the same price everyone else pays for the patches.
Mhm.
So that's the way to get started. That's what you expect. This
Mhm.
has been absolutely life-changing.
Mhm.
We've never seen anything having this kinds of success. We've never helped so many people.
That's the truth.
And that's
It's amazing.
we never even told people about the business aspect of it. We still don't until they ask or find out about it. And then we say, here's a fairly easy way to get your patches for free.
Right. Well,
If you
we
want
tell
to earn more, you
people,
can.
right. Well, just to qualify that, we do tell people when we sell them a wholesale kit
Yeah.
that they are signing up to be a wholesale buyer. And if they want to share the patches, we will show them how to do that. You start with the silver, I start with the diamond.
The diamond girl. But
That's
let
right.
people make their decision.
Let people
But
know
know the best value is that diamond
it
pack.
is.
And especially now when you can earn those points to go to the
Yes.
Caribbean. Are we going to the
Will you
Caribbean?
stop doing that? The
The
Dominican
Caribbean.
Republic. The
Yeah.
Dominican Republic.
I think
Let's
wouldn't it
call
be
it
funny
Punta
if it
Cana.
wasn't in the Caribbean? It'd be funny if it was.
Oh, yeah, because he's so
No.
funny. That's it. He's just, how can he be so funny? Anyway, friends, it is 1:55. Again, thank you so much to
Any other
Marcy.
questions?
Yeah, we'll take a peek at those. I'm so grateful to Marcy and Peter, and it's been wonderful to get to know you a little better. And we hope to get to know you even more as time goes on. And maybe we'll all get acquainted in Punta Cana. I mean, a beautiful thing. One of the wonderful things about these trips, and we'll leave you with this though, the relationships that are built. I've always told our 4 children that relationships are the treasures of life, and being a part of this company and changing lives and building relationships with not only the people you are helping, and then that you're building the business with, and then to be able to vacation with some amazing people. We want to meet each and every one of you. We have time for a couple more questions. If Linda would want to help us out with that, Linda, that would be fabulous.
Yeah, somebody's asking for some suggestions on plantar fasciitis. What patches that might be helpful?
Yes, well, for me personally, I will just say for foot pain, X39 and Eon. That's if you, now as time has gone on and we've learned more, if I have somebody in chronic pain, I'll ice wave them up too. We'll put ice wave on there.
And of course, we don't make any medical claims on
Right.
patches, and we don't diagnose or treat any sickness and disease. I'm a doctor, but I'm not your doctor.
Right.
However, we can talk about the patches supporting organ systems. So you can
Yes.
ask us about a specific sickness and
System.
disease, but we'll never tell you that you can treat that with patches, but we will tell you the organ systems in your body that you can support so your own body
Body does
can
the work.
fight to get and
Yes.
stay healthy, which is the way that you were designed. You were made to
Mhm.
stay healthy. That's the normal thing. Sometimes I
Gotta
think
get
we get
from
to
that.
thinking that it's normal to have aches and pains and things like that and
Your
things
body
going wrong.
wants you to be
It's
well.
not.
Your creator wants you well.
God
He
wants
made your
you well.
body that way. Okay, Linda, another one, please.
People are asking what ages the two of you are.
Oh, yeah. Well, 57 and 67.
Look amazing. That's why
I
everyone's like,
feel like I'm in my 40s.
But he acts like
too.
he's in his 20s, maybe teenage years
A
sometimes.
merry heart does good like a medicine. Proverbs 17:22.
Okay,
I bet my life on it.
let them keep going. Go ahead, Linda. Did you have another question?
Let's see. Just sort of health savings accounts. I don't think we want to answer.
Yeah,
Some
that
some
depends on the
people can.
bank.
It depends on the
depends
bank.
on the bank.
Some
And,
people can get patches paid
Yeah.
through an HSA
and
if you have
sometimes
the right one.
and sometimes they transfer, like there's ways that people have gotten around it that we've worked with.
Yes, and a lot of you both look amazing.
Oh, very good. Thanks, guys. Well,
Great podcast.
we've been doing health and wellness. Dr. Don's been teaching that for 40 years now. So we've always, we don't do it always perfectly, but we've been characterized by eating the way his book shows up here, Do This and Live Healthy. This has a, whoops, sorry, honey. This has a wonderful, this is a wonderful book, and it has a nice guide in the back too about common ailments and natural things. Of course, this was written before we knew anything about patches, but it's natural alternatives and Dr. Don's 10 simple keys that cure on Amazon.
We've only got a few minutes left, and I think we've shared enough, certainly if you're a new person, enough to know about the dynamic duo, the X39 and the Eon, where I start everyone on these patches, get your body in the flow of helping itself get healthier. But let me just mention a couple other patches to let you know that they're out there.
2 minutes.
Yeah, 2 minutes. Watch this.
Wow.
Glutathione, the #1 antioxidant that literally restores and rejuvenates the vitamin C and vitamin E that you have to take in your diet because your body can't make it. And the most we can increase your glutathione levels orally or IV, because it has a 7.5-minute half-life. It's depleted by the 500 milligrams, becomes 250 in 7.5 minutes. It's just impossible to get the levels that we can with the glutathione patch clinical study showing 300% increase that lasts for 24 hours. It's powerful. The blue zones, people were lived to be over 100 consistently, have the highest levels of glutathione. So you might want to consider that patch a great detoxifier. Then another one of my favorites, SP6, which is endocrine support. The endocrine glands are the thyroid, which supports metabolism, the rate at which you burn calories, adrenal gland for stress management, pancreas for making both food enzymes to digest your food for nutrients, and insulin to support healthy blood sugar levels. That's a powerful patch. Carnosine. If you have a heart or a brain, you want extra support in those areas. It supports all organ systems, but particularly carnosine is good for brain and heart kinds of things. And then the patch that should come with a warning. The warning is, if you're going to wear it, tell your husband. So when you wake up in the morning and sees you, the Alavita patch for your skin and so much more. It helps with telomere length for lengthening
there.
And it helps with just a number of things we don't have time to talk about. And what's another? Oh, major patching system. All of those patches are designed to deal with the cause of the problem, which is a wonderful foundation of why this modality is so powerful and superior to other things. But there is a set of patches called the Lifewave patch for pain. It's a pain, it interrupts the pain signaling in your body. So it's a 2-part patch, like a plus and minus, like on a battery. When you get it placed right, it will give you immediate results. So this one, you don't have to wait your 3 to 6 weeks. Often right away, people get relief, sometimes tremendous relief in the pain. You wear it 12 hours on, 12 hours off. When you get it placed properly, it doesn't necessarily correct the cause of the problem, but boy, I'd rather be out of pain than in pain, and much safer than the aspirin, ibuprofen, things that can be hard on your GI tract, stomach bleeding, your liver, your kidneys, and certainly the pharmaceutical painkillers, much safer. So it's a natural way to deal with that pain. Those are the basics, things that you need to know about patching. But remember what the New England Journal of Medicine said, the #1 predictor of health is correlated with the number of stem cells in your body. So let's wake some stem cells up.
Yes.
Let's move on and get to our healthy future, have our body fighting sickness and disease and getting and keeping you healthy naturally.
Well, God bless all of you. We are so thankful to be a part of this Lifewave family. We are so grateful for David Schmidt. What an amazing, wonderful man, and all the corporate. And I hope everybody's having just an amazing, just unforgettable time in Houston.